all-knowing and all-powerful, starting with the elderly wolf uncle. Chapter 41. There were also various comforting words, plus more and more police cars sounding alarm bells to the scene. The sound in the air is noisy, cut and complicated. The night breeze, which had begun to gradually cooler, made people feel cold at this moment. Bruce Wayne stood in such an environment, looking at the teenager who remained calm and did not panic excessively. Although the other party stood in front of him so unhindered, he still felt that Chen Tian's body was shrouded in a mysterious thick fog that could not be seen at all. Which made people feel deeply dangerous and uneasy. You don't have to worry, people who don't provoke me will never be fine. Chen Tian felt that the other party's emotions began to fluctuate and hesitate, and said with a smile. When the Catwoman next to her heard this, she silently moved into the distance. I take back my previous words, you know very well about reconnaissance. Then she recalled the questioning words she had said to Chen Tian, and smiled awkwardly. However, in a short period of contact, Catwoman has deeply realized the horror of the other party, for fear that the other party will hate herself because of the previous incident. Unconsciously, the once arrogant black cat has begun to show its well-behaved side. We've found out, this person is the Riddler, and this annoying guy can finally stop. Then, Gordon walked over, and the stone that seemed to have been pressing on his heart finally fell. It's just that when he set his gaze on Chen Tian, the expression on his face became strange and complicated again. Gordon has already acted with the latter twice, and each incident has been properly resolved by the other party's extraordinary ability. But he still couldn't completely trust the boy in front of him, who looked ordinary at this time, as his companion. In his eyes, Chen Tian was also shrouded in a mysterious mist that was confusing and indistinct. If nothing else, your identity may be in the headlines tomorrow. Gordon took a deep look at Chen Tian. His thoughts were a little unclear, and he couldn't tell whether his words were a reminder or a warning. After all, many people in the pavilion tonight have seen you. Quote. Really? Do anyone else in this neighborhood know me? When Chen Tian heard this, he looked at those with different postures, and a smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. In fact, when he released his mind fluctuations just now, he not only locked the Riddler, but also imprisoned the memories of the people around him. No one will remember him. I don't understand you. Gordon didn't understand what Chen Tian meant, and his brows wrinkled slightly. Everything is clearly remembered, how can no one else know him? Bruce on the side shook his head helplessly and patted Gordon's shoulder. Be careful, he's a wizard now. Quote. After saying that, he raised his hand and shot out the hook lock, hooked the wall and jumped up. I still don't understand. Gordon turned his head in confusion, but found that not only Batman, but also Chen Tian and Catwoman behind him had disappeared. Shit. It's all a bunch of freaks. Quote. Seeing this, he couldn't help but curse in a low voice. ... Gotham tonight is not destined to be peaceful. The roof of an apartment building. 3 figures stood upstairs, looking at the oppressive and gloomy city in front of them. I still want to know, who the hell are you? Bruce looked at the night scene of the city, and still couldn't help but ask Chen Tian this question again. The Riddler has already given you the answer before. Sometimes, is identity really that important? When Chen Tian heard the other party's words, he turned his head and looked over, with a smile between his eyebrows. When Bruce heard this, he was stunned and then shook his head and chuckled. He understood Chen Tian's words. Maybe at some point. No. To be precise, in all cases, the interaction between people is more important than the position between the two sides. Among them, determining identity is only one of the ways to judge position. The most important thing is what position the person in front of you stands. As long as they stand on the same side and are not enemies, identity is not so important. You're right, I should have the answer in my heart. After Bruce shared the joints in it, he immediately untied a knot in his heart, and a smile appeared under his eyes. Hey, obviously the hair has not grown, so I can pretend. Catwoman looked deep when she saw Chen Tian speak, and she couldn't help but complain when she raised her eyebrows. Hearing this, the latter gently rolled his eyes. Selina, have you forgotten about the evening? He stared at Catwoman, who was dressed in a black tights and had an unobstructed view of all her body curves, and seemed to smile. Catwoman in this period was only a few years older than him, and in addition to being physically developed just right, her thoughts and behaviors were far from late maturity. For example, when doing things, you hardly think about more consequences, and only rely on your own preferences. There is also the inability to hide the mind, and many joys, angers and sorrows will be directly displayed. Thinking of this, Chen Tian's eyes smiled even heavier. If you have time later, you can teach Catwoman. What? When Catwoman Selina heard this, she was stunned. Chapter 50. Heading to the metropolis. A city like no other. What? When the Catwoman on the other side heard this, she realized that she had been recognized earlier. Recalling his previous expression, he suddenly felt a little angry like a fried cat. What a shame. Before I thought about pretending to be in front of him and solving the hatred in my heart. I didn't expect her to be a clown from beginning to end. So, you've been fooling me? Catwoman Selina threw out her leather whip in dissatisfaction and pumped it fiercely towards Chen Tian. Syllable. However, as soon as she raised her hand, she was grabbed by the other party's slender fingers, and the leather whip was easily taken away. Only bad kids get pumped. Selina, are you? Chen Tian played with the leather whip in his hand, and his eyes looked at Catwoman's alluring body without concealment. You. Catwoman felt the evil under the teenager's eyes angrily, swallowed her saliva and took 2 steps back. After glancing at Chen Tian again, the pretty face under the mask was instantly turned red. She remembered the other party's wizard-like ability, and her brows furrowed and jumped directly from the rooftop. Grabbing the water pipe and sliding downstairs, as soon as the high heels stepped on the ground, he took 2 slender thighs and ran away like a run. Chen Tian stared at the woman's swift back that quickly disappeared into the street, and did not choose to chase. He still has something to discuss with Bruce, and it's never too late to have a chance to play in the future. Bruce, I need your help to get a fake identity and admission letter from Metropolitan University. Chen Tian turned his head to look at the other party, be ready before tomorrow. Quote, with the ability to replicate, his biggest expectation for the DC universe is the opportunity to obtain the ability of the super. Previously, due to various reasons of interference, I could not be distracted. Now that almost everything is in place, the plan should be on the agenda. No problem. Bruce agreed without hesitation. Although the news that Chen Tian told him of his enemy before was just a deal, Bruce was still grateful to him. In addition to this, the powerful teenager has helped himself deal with cases many times. And we will definitely cooperate again in the future. Therefore, for Chen Tian's request to help him do things, Bruce naturally will not refuse. However, when he nodded, he was young but not ignorant, and he suddenly remembered that the content that Chen Tian had traded with him before was to find a person named Clark. People from Kent. He has an excellent memory. Think of thousands of Clark. One of Kent's students attended Metropolitan University. Maybe Chen's trip is with that Clark. Kent related? First chapter previous.